Sentence structure. So let's look at the sentence structure. A simple sentence. So we have different structures of the sentence, and them is a simple sentence. It contains a subject and a predicate or a verb, right? Or the verb can have an object or other modifier. It is a one-claused sentence, and this clause needs to be an independent clause. The example is she reads. So it's a simple sentence. She completed her literature review. A simple sentence. He organized his source by theme. A simple sentence. They studied APA rules for many hours. So all these are examples of simple sentence: subject, predicate, subject, verb, verb, simple verb. Then it can have an object. It can have a other modifier. We'll see that what other modifiers are possible. So second type of the sentence structure is compound sentence. A compound sentence contains at least two independent clauses. So when we have two independent clauses, we call it a compound sentence. You need to handle compound sentences a little carefully. These two independent clauses, especially the punctuation of the independent clauses, can be combined with a comma and a coordinating conjunction. A comma and a coordinating conjunction, or with a semicolon. So you can take two independent clauses, join them with first with a comma and then with a coordinating conjunction. Obviously, when I say coordinating conjunction, it means that independent coordinating conjunctions, because there are dependent coordinating conjunctions are. So if you are not using this with any comma and with coordinating conjunction, you can use a semicolon. But if you do not use a semicolon or a coordinating conjunction, then simply join two clauses with a comma, it will be considered an incorrect sentence. We call it a comma supplies. Or even you do not use a comma and simply take two independent clauses and join them. So it will be a run together sentence. Coordinating conjunctions, you must keep it in your mind that what are independent conjunctions. So you can remember with the help of this acronym fan boys. So fanboy, we can open this fanboys. F for A for and, N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, and S for so. So generally these are, obviously some of them are used other parts of speech as dependent coordinating conjunctions, but generally we'll just see that how they are used as independent coordinating conjunctions. So you can look at these coordinating conjunctions, how they are used for, and, nor, but, etc. And before all of these, there is a comma before them. So you can also see that how they bring about a change in the meaning, right? So for example, for the second clause is the reason for the first clause. And similarly, you can look at the other meaning of the coordinating conjunction. That second clause certainly has a certain meaning. So you can look at these in detail. Then we can have a complex sentence. Say a complex sentence contains at least one independent clause or one or more than one dependent clause. Dependent clauses can refer to subject, who, which, the sequence, time, since, while, or causal element because if of the independent clause. So there can be an adjective clause in the subject or in the noun, or there can be an adverb clause of time, place, manner, or there can be another adverb clause giving cause, right? So there can be different types of dependent clauses. Here are a few examples. Although she completed her literature review, she still needed to work on her method section. So we have although she completed her literature review. Remember that the dependent clause is separated from the independent clause with the help of a comma, right? So when the dependent clause is the introductory clause, so it is separated from its independent clause by a comma. But if the situation is reversed, that means that if the dependent clause comes after the independent clause, there is no need for comma. Remember that the dependent clause is always a component of the independent clause. The component of the independent clause are subject, object, adverb, or complement. So the dependent clause will maybe the subject, and the subject is always a noun, so it will be a noun clause. Object is always a noun, so it will be a noun object clause. Similarly, it can be an adverb describing time, place, manner, reason of the main verb, so it will be a dependent clause. They studied APA rules for many hours as they were so interesting. So you look at this, that as they were so interesting is the dependent clause and there is no comma. Compound complex sentences. So we talked about compound clauses, two or more than two independent clauses, but we have here a complex. Sentence types can also be combined. A compound clause sentence contains at least two independent clause and one or more than dependent clause. She completed her literature review. It's an independent clause, but she still needs to work on her method section. It's an independent clause. These two independent clauses are joined by but, that is an independent coordinating conjunction, even though she finished her course last semester. So this is the dependent clause. So you can find the same thing, that this compound complex sentence structure is that at least two independent clauses and one or more than one dependent clause. Using some complex compound sentences in writing allows for more sentence variety. So why do we use compound complex types of sentences? Because they bring variety to our sentences. And one thing we must keep it in our mind, that whenever you are using these compound complex clauses, pay close attention to comma usage in complex compound sentences so that the reader is easily able to follow the intended meaning. Because if the punctuation is not correct, when we are speaking, we have some pauses that give the idea of where we break the sentence, where we break the clause. But when we are writing, the punctuation is very important, right? So if punctuation is not correctly given in the writing, it can confuse the meaning that we want to convey. So these are the structures on which language is built. So they are the stories of a language building. So keep it in your mind that how they are arranged. So simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, and compound complex sentences. So learn how to use, and especially learn the punctuation and the connectors.